Lesson 5 will dig deeper into the selection and review in conjunction with the use of filters. Also, the relative depth command will be added to the mix. I will now begin with the right-click menu. You have the right-click option to select items and then review, or you can use the right-click to go directly to reviewing an item. In Lesson 4, I discussed the member having main material and submaterials, or parts. If you were to select and review or double-click on the main material of a member, the Member Edit screen would open. To view the main material's material screen, I use the material filter. When you hover over an item, for example this member's main material, and you right-click, then go to the Select Other, you will see that any items behind the cursor will be listed, in this case the member and the main material. Notice, as I hover over the items, I can see the wire outline of each item. The material only outlines the main material, and the member, all the materials on the member are outlined. If I select the material, notice only the main material is selected. If I select the review, I get the Material Edit screen. The same applies to the member. If that were selected, then the Member Edit screen would open. When you use the right-click Select Other, you'll notice that you do not need to press Shift to add to the selection. When you select a selected item, the item will be toggled to deselected. The next feature is very useful for approving a model. When I right-click Select Other on an item that has a multiple quantity, you'll see the piece mark and the quantity listed. This quantity will be all the same items in the model regardless of its visibility. When this is selected, all means all. You can combine the right-click selection with the single and area selection, pressing Shift to add and Control to remove. Now, if I right-click Review, I see the Edit screen and I can set all my statuses for the selected members. Now it's time to add filters to the mix. As seen in Lesson 4, if I were to double-click on the shear plate, I would get the connection information or component screen. By using the Review Other, I can hover and select the material review for the plate. When I right-click and select Other while hovering with my mouse over the bolt, you'll see in my Select Other list all the items behind the cursor in the screen. Again, each item is highlighted as I hover over them. To refine this selection list, I will use filters. Filters allow you to show, select, and review only the selected filter items. For example, I will set holes in my filter. Now, when I hover over the model items, only the holes will be indicated. Right-click, and only the holes will be listed. Area Select, and I will only select the holes. Remember, when you run review, any grade fields are different. On a side note, remember, if you want to not see the bolts, you can use the display options and hide the bolts. Just remember to turn them back on when you're done. So what if I want to select more than one item, like beams and column members, or in my case, bolts and holes? This is where the custom filter comes in. Down at the bottom of the list, you will see Custom. This allows you to select multiple items. I will select bolts and holes using Control to toggle on the item, Shift to get multiple selections, and then Control to remove selections. Now, when I select from the model, or right-click Select, or Review Other, Only bolts and holes are in the list. It is important to point out that if you exit the screen, the custom filter is still active. You can either clear and then exit, or go to the drop-down menu and select another filter, such as default. Relative depth command relocates your current working plane by a numerical input value in and out of the screen. I will surface the top flange of this beam. From the display options, I'll set my depth check to be out 0 inches and into the screen 2 foot. Notice the current elevation is at 16 foot 2 3/4, which is the top of the beam. When I run relative depth from the view pull-down, or use the shortcut key RD, I can type in a value to move my working plane from the top of the beam flange into or out of the screen. This can be performed from any screen view. I will type in -6 to move the working plane into the screen perpendicular to my view. Now the current working plane is at elevation 15 foot 8 3/4. We can see the depth check in and out of 0 and 2 foot. Relative depth in conjunction with depth check, surface, and other tools will allow you to inspect your model, clearing out unnecessary clutter. Go to Lesson 6 for demonstration on construction lines, taking dimensions from the model, and snap points, which we call point locators.